Yeah, hi Ian. Welcome back to the podcast. How are you? What's been happening since we last chatted?
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, no, all good, Stephen. Thank you. We're in the middle of a heat wave in the UK. We've had into our second week of temperatures in the 30s. We don't know what to do with ourselves. We're not used to it. So yeah, and outside of that, more work on Insight Timer, daily sessions on Circles Live, and all good. Yeah, busy. Thank you.
Yeah, Sydney's got into like a full lockdown till the 30th of July as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've
It's
been busy with YouTube and podcasting as well and doing some courses on Insight Timer too.
yeah.
But, there's nothing you can do. So you're in a heat wave, are you?
Yeah, well, it's a heat wave for us. It's all relative. That's probably quite mild for you, isn't it? 30 degrees, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's very rare. We get the occasional day, but very rare to have a sustained period of over a week or 2 weeks of this sort of temperature. So, and the British love to talk about the weather. Look at this. I'm on a podcast to talk about anything. And within 10 seconds, I'm talking to you about the weather. So we're living it at the moment. Absolutely living it.
It's cold in Sydney. It was about I think 4 degrees when I got up this morning.
Yeah.
And the car's engine was, when it's cold.
Yeah.
Took a while to start, but life goes on. Ian, we're in a lockdown. Politicians blame each other. Borders closed. I just don't read that newspaper or that TV. I just switch that off.
Well, listen, that's a great place to start. I mean, if you can just distance yourself from it's awful, everything that's been. There's a real lesson for us here in the last 18 months, and we don't know how long this is going to go on. You've said, you and I spoke 2 or 3 months ago. If I'd have said to you, you'll probably be in a lockdown when we speak again in end of July, you'd have said no way. But I think when we look back on this, and it will pass, everything does, I think we'll realise that the fear around it was 80% of the issue. It was awful for the people we've lost, people who have suffered, all of that, the strain on the health care systems, but the fear created around the actual thing itself is really what's got into the psyche of people, Stephen. So the fact that you've made a conscious decision not to do the news, to try and reduce your social media, I think is a real message, positive message for anybody listening to this. Just cut out what you don't need to know.
Everything's opened up in the UK, haven't you? Are you guys like living normal?
Freedom Day was last Monday. I think it was the 19th of July. Our illustrious leader, Boris Johnson, called it Freedom Day. And there's no, unless outlets, businesses, restaurants, shops, they can almost dictate what happens within their premises. But by law now, you can, there's mixing, there's no masks, there's, and I think Holland tried this about 2 months ago, and the Prime Minister of Holland ended up having to apologise to the nation, and now they're in full lockdown. So hold that thought, But there we go. But the gloves are off over here, as we say. We're back to whatever normal is.
No, that's good that you guys are back to normal. But I booked my vaccine next month, but it was just stuff around. The Australian government's been very slow to give people the jab.
Okay.
And just the wait. And I had to book this a month ago just to get a spot on the 2nd of August.
Yeah.
For the Pfizer. Yeah. Was it like that for you, or was it quick?
No, I have to say that it was quick. We've probably led the way with vaccines. Should people want vaccines, every adult in the UK has been offered one. Their decision, and I think something like 20 million people have already had two. It's a mix of Pfizer, AstraZeneca, and Moderna over here, I think. So, anybody over 18 now, and they're talking about, which is a completely different subject, but they're talking about the vaccination of children now as the next wave, as it were. So, but it will pass. We've just got to take care of ourselves in the moment, which is a sort of life lesson for all of us, whether it's coronavirus or something else. It's all about just trying to remain present and do the best you can for you and others in the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And, I've been doing these affirmation challenges as well, really practicing the law of attraction too,
Yeah.
wanting to manifest money into my life.
Okay. And how's that going?
Slowly, slowly.
Okay.
It's not easy to manifest money for some reason.
Well, yeah. Well, I think your last comment may be the reason it hasn't come yet. If you think about the negative connotation to that last comment, and it's in our psyche, Steve, and it's natural for us to think it's not easy. So the second we say it's not easy, it's not easy. So I think and money seems to have much more of a weight around can we or can't we to something else. It seems to carry an energy of only a few can have it. I had a situation about 5 years ago where I'd stepped out of the corporate world, but I was invited back in to do some consultancy, and I needed an amount of money. I can remember it. It was £912 I needed, and this was around early June, and by the end of June I needed £912. I'd got money, but ideally that money would have come in because it needed to go out. So I set a daily rate of with the company, and the call came out of nowhere. I don't suppose you could give us some time, could you? This is in June. I knew I needed £912 by the 28th of June. And I said, yeah, I've got some free time. I can step back in and do some consultancy. So we set a daily rate, and it came to £900, the daily rate. So I said, there was a part in me that felt, well, that's amazing. I needed £912, and within a few days of me setting an intention, there's 900 quid out of nowhere, out of a phone call. So I did the days for them, and I put my invoice in for £900. And then on the 28th of June, my app on the phone pinged, my banking app, and it says, you have money. And when I checked, the company I'd done some work for had paid me £912, the exact amount that I needed. And when I contacted them, they said, oh, we allow a little subsistence for teas and coffees every day you work for us, and that added up to £12. So it's money is just a unit of energy. It's like anything, but we do have this thing about it has to be more difficult.
Yeah.
Once we get a couple of wins, that was a real confirmation for me to get an exact amount of money like that within the month that I needed it and had set an intention. Means that anything's possible. It doesn't always mean I can do it, because I start to think I can't, but it's possible. It's possible.
I can do it, Ian. Get into challenging times. Just say, a meditation teacher was offering a sleep course. His name's Jason Stevenson, very well known. It was about, I think it was $197 US.
Mm-hmm.
Only offers 4 spots a year, but I didn't have the money for it. I was like, bugger. So I think it gave me some affirmation recordings to play during the sleep. Do you ever come across times like that when you want something but you just don't have the funds at the moment?
Yeah, and I think it's about letting go of the feeling of lack then around it, because that is a big anchor to keep you where you are. We start to try and work out very quickly and articulate and wire how we're going to get from A to B. And the biggest lesson about the law of attraction is to let go, and so set an intent, but try and let go of the need to be there on that date, to do that course. And because what starts to come then, as the days start to progress towards it, it starts to build pressure on why it won't happen and why isn't it happening. And then you flip to a lower vibrational energy around the whole thing. So if I can give any advice to the listeners, Stephen, it's to set an intent and to let it go. And every time you think about it, just try and remain positive around it. you know, if not this time, the next time, you know, so, but yeah, of course, yeah, I've got a situation at the moment where I would love to have more followers.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so all as I've done, I've set a feeling and an intent around really sort of giving myself a pat on the back in 6 months' time at the end of 2021, where I've got more followers than I ever imagined I would have. And then when anything crosses my path, an opportunity to run a course, an opportunity to record a meditation, I just say yes to it. I don't question it. But once I've got my head around it, feels right to me, and I like the people, because I don't say yes to everything, but I go with it. And I know that's moving me step by step towards what I know will be there at the end of this year. And that's followers beyond my wildest dreams. So sometimes just working towards it rather than, you know, the book, The Secret, I think it was amazing because it really planted the seed with the masses that the law of attraction is possible. But I think the one thing that it missed was we don't attract what we want. We attract what we are. We attract what we're vibrating at. So the law of attraction says you can have a BMW on the drive by Christmas. It was very much about materialism and money and cars and houses and think big. And of course, for 99.9% of people who have never had that in their life, there's this amazing feeling of excitement as they read the book. But very quickly, this position of lack and it will never happen when it doesn't start to materialize kicks in. So just maintaining that position of you're going to attract what you are in any moment is almost guaranteed to bring you something like that. Do you see the difference between wanting a BMW on the drive, but just, you know, but do I really need a BMW? So you define in the moment what you think you really want. What are you doing it for? And what are you vibrating at? And that's what will come down the path, in my experience.
Yeah, exactly. I've had to learn not to put pressure on myself as well.
Yeah.
So I think it was 2 days I was thinking about it. The course looked good. I knew I was going to get something out of it, but, you know, didn't have the money. And by the third day, I just let it go.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? If I have an absolute belief that there's something bigger than you and I, something that pulls the strings, that supports us, that guides us, that you can call that God, you can call it nature, you can call it the universe, whatever it is. But we have to sort of get our head around that it knows better than us. So if that course isn't right for Stephen Shields, that course isn't right for Stephen Shields. You know, if you set we live in a decent universe, Stephen. As my dear old dad says, and I don't know if this translates to Australia, somebody put dock leaves next to nettles. So what I mean by that is in nature, we've got nettles in the UK that sting you, a type of plant, if you rub against them. Naturally growing next to the nettles is a dock leaf, a natural remedy. If you rub this leaf on the nettle sting and they grow side by side, we live in a balanced universe, a good place. So the more we can just let go to that place, the more that actually perhaps an even better opportunity. Maybe it wasn't the right time for this course for you. Maybe there's a better course. Maybe this course will happen. But the more we can let go, there's so much around just letting go and allowing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because Jason Stevenson, he did a free masterclass. I admire Jason Stevenson's work as well. And he doesn't use pushy sales tactics, which was good.
Yeah.
He's on Insight Timer, by the way. But
yeah. I'm not familiar with his work, actually, but prompted by you. In fact, your listeners won't see this. I'm making a note of his name as we speak. She'll take a look. Thank you.
He's been on 3 million YouTube subscribers.
Yeah, amazing.
But no, if it's not meant to be this time, there will be another time.
Yeah. And how's lockdown for you? You mentioned that you're sort of spending time around positive stuff. Are you finding it okay?
Yeah, I was just doing some of the Dr. Joe Dispenza, the breaking the habit of being yourself
Yeah, yeah,
meditation for
yeah,
3 weeks. That's really
yeah.
good.
Well, I think, when something's enforced upon us, Wayne Dyer, who was had a massive influence on my career and life. He said, he had a line, Stephen, he said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So lockdown is lockdown. Whichever way you cut it, it's the same thing. And lockdown can spiral you into a depression or a dark mood or a same old, or lockdown can create an opportunity for you to learn, to evolve, to change. So good for you for choosing the latter. And I'm sure, like most of us.
I picked that up in an exchange bookshop.
Brilliant.
$5. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, I like Wayne Dyer. I've got to re-listen to his stuff. Yeah, but I don't let the media intimidate me. That's all they want to do, Ian, is just put fear and anxiety into people. Dr. Phil quoted that he was worried more what this virus would do to people's mental health.
Yeah, yeah. But if you strip away all the fear and you look at the numbers, and I really don't want to underplay the effect this has had on people's lives if you've lost loved ones or people have suffered, but the numbers simply don't justify the term pandemic, for a start, and the effect it's had on the global mental health situation. The two don't go together, and so yeah, I think to go back to the beginning of this recording where you said that you're reducing, I would just say reduce news coverage. Easier said than done, but maintain or manage your social media interaction. Manage where you spend your time as you scroll. Who do you connect with? Who can you cut away? It's about just trying to take care of yourself through whatever you're going through.
Yeah, exactly, and that's all you can do. I'm doing an online course on the YouTube Creator Academy because my goal is to have the 1 million subscribers and get the plaque.
Excellent.
I love being creative. So I've been sharing my certificates on my social media as well.
Yeah.
And I love YouTube, and new videos are available every Friday, and it's all music. So that's keeping me busy. I want to make a living off YouTube, Ian.
Yeah. Well, I looked into YouTube. I decided to go a different route, but I was really encouraged and inspired by the fact that you can put a message out and return an income based on it, and do good for people, be of service, help people. And what a wonderful medium. You can sit in front of a camera, which looks like a phone these days, on a stand, and change people's lives. Why wouldn't you want to take a piece of that? Good for you.
How's Insight Time? Are you going to do any courses?
Yeah, I'm talking to them about a couple of things at the moment, actually, behind the scenes. I now do regular live sessions 5 days a week.
Yeah.
And that's been going on for a few months, and that's building really, really nice. The recordings I tend to put out a couple of months, and I'm talking to them behind the scenes about a course or 2 courses, and also about some one-to-one, because they now offer one-to-one mentoring. So just quietly developing the relationship with Insight Time. It's wonderful. I mean, I've done a recording this morning, 8 o'clock UK time, just for 15 minutes. I do something, I think that's where we first connected, wasn't it? You come across it, Find Calm in a Crazy World. And I think this morning I probably had 150 people meditating for 15 minutes from all 4 corners of the globe. It was amazing. And as I always say to people, with different cultures, different time zones, different continents, this moment, we just have this moment together, which is all there is. So it's wonderful. And I think I mentioned as well, I'm doing some lovely work with another app called Circles Live.
Yeah, I think you told me that in the last.
Yeah, they're really growing in momentum, and there's a very different feel to Circles Live, far more intimate. So the clue's in the title. Circles Live is all about live with the teacher, as opposed to recording. So it's visual. It's as opposed to just audio. And every session, it's free. Majority of it is free, so you can meditate free with a range of teachers, including myself, every day.
So is that a free app on the App Store?
Yeah, free app, Circles Live. Have a look at circleslive.com. And I've just finished a little course for them called An Introduction to Meditation, 7 days, 15 minutes a day, which I've really enjoyed doing. That goes live in a couple of weeks. So I would encourage you and your listeners to take a look at Circles Live. Really good people behind the scenes, just like Insight Timer. You know, it comes from a good place, good business model.
Now, I got your book that you sent me. I'll definitely be reading it, Your Simple Path. So you wrote this book?
Yeah, I wrote the book 7 years ago now. It's gone to Amazon and the self-help chart #1 twice over the years. It continues to do well. I dropped out of the corporate world, Stephen, almost overnight. A bit of burnout and just, you know, a bit of a wake up. And I took 6 months out. And during that 6 months, I started to journal. The journal became a bit of a format. The format became chapters. The chapters became a book. And the book is called Your Simple Path and continues to do well. It's gone to #1 in the UK on Amazon twice now in the self-help genre, and sold about 40,000 copies over the years. And I mean, that underpins all of my work, the book, really. In essence, it's about simplifying your life, just finding a simple path through life, letting go of what you don't need to carry. So much of what we carry is put on us by other people, and we think we've got to put it in our bag and let it weigh us down. It's not the way, not the case, not the truth.
Good. So it's on Amazon. People can buy it on Amazon. I'll put a link in the show notes for the people to check it out as well.
That's very kind. So it's available paperback, it's available Kindle, and also it's on Audible as well. So if you don't mind this English accent.
Did you narrate it on Audible?
I did, yeah. I sat in a studio, which a company that specialises in audio books. So all of the acoustics are set up for spoken word rather than music, and had a really enjoyable day there. And so I narrated it myself, And actually, it was really interesting because I did the audio book version about 3 or 4 years after I'd written and the book got published. And I realised I'd developed and deepened as a person. So when I was reading it, it seemed to come from a different place as opposed to when I was writing it. It was almost like quite cathartic for me. It was an interesting experience to say, okay, that makes more sense to me now. 3 years later, I wrote it, but now I really, really live it. And it was quite liberating. So all 3 formats. And I'd be delighted to know what you think. You're welcome to the copy.
Yeah, I'll definitely be checking it out as well. And Insight Timer as well is still growing. I've came across a few pretty good courses actually on the Insight Timer app too.
Yeah. Well, I think you said last time, I think the value for Insight Timer, I obviously as a teacher on there, I don't subscribe, but what do you pay a year for access to everything?
Well, with Apple, I pay about $48 a year. That's for Apple. Or you can pay $80 if you want on the website. But I don't know. Do iTunes take their cut?
Yeah. Tell me about it. So, but that's fantastic value, and that on Insight Timer, Stephen, I think that gives you access to all courses, all recordings, all live sessions,
downloading.
And I think that even though there's thousands and thousands of options on Insight Timer now, I can tell you behind the scenes they're quite strict on quality and content. You don't just record something and upload it. It goes through a process with them for about 5 days. where it's not just about quality, but they check content as well. Quite often when a model or a platform grows quickly, the quality can drop. I don't think that's the case. I don't know about you, but I don't think that's the case with Insight Timer.
I love it. I've noticed there's been some recordings of teachers. They might have a dog bark in the background, but they muffle it out. I could pick it up.
Yeah.
It's not as bad. Some of the live streams, you get some of the teachers try to play music on the live, and the audio is not good, and it can throw you off.
I stay away from it. I've got a really lovely library of music that I've used over the years, and I've got some amazing tracks around the solfeggio scale, different vibrational frequencies. And I have thought about considering it, but I'm like you. I think it detracts from the session. I don't know how you can manage, the session properly with having external music coming through what is quite a limited audio, whether it's the phone or something else. So I've stayed away from that.
Well, Sonic Yogi's a musician. He does live with the Tibetan bowls.
Yes.
I think he's using the microphones for it.
Okay. Yeah. I think I looked into him actually, prompted by us discussing on the first podcast I was on. Yeah, I really enjoyed some of his stuff. I had a look after you mentioned him first, because he's been on this show, I think, hasn't
he?
Yeah. So no, I think I think more and more. Well-being has always, in the last 10 years, let's face it, it exploded. Mind, body, spirit, well-being, spirituality, whatever you want to call it, self-help, personal development. And I think this last 18, 20 months, what we've all gone through, has really planted the seed with people that there has to be another way through life.
There has to be, Ian, because you look at a big corporation, they can go broke tomorrow and they've lost it all.
Yeah, I think I read on somewhere the other day that however good the relationship you have with your employer, if something happened to you within a month, they'd be advertising your position. Your families don't get another chance at second you, get the balance right. And I think more people have realised that. I don't know too many people who are desperate to get back to 60-hour weeks in the office environment. I don't think we'd have been saying that 2 years ago. It was in our DNA, wasn't it?
Can't rely on a job anymore, Ian.
No. Well, to go back to Wayne Dyer, Stephen, he said, don't become your title. He said, don't become the bit that's written under your name on the business card. Be your name. Because if that title goes, and it will, it leaves a void. And it's very, very often we don't actually know who we are, because we've been the title and not the name above it for 2-3 decades. I think that's good advice.
Exactly. But, you look at Tony Robbins, his business has been affected too, because people can't go to live events last year. They would have lost a lot of money. Yeah,
millions, I would say. I think I touched on our last. It doesn't quite tick the box for me, the Tony Robbins approach, but he did do a free live online seminar about a year ago. I don't know if you caught it.
I did. I think I saw it on Instagram. But how long was it?
5 days, so 5 nights, 2 hours a night. Live session.
He wasn't doing the whole unleash the power within till 1 a.m.
No. It wasn't a 13-hour session in front of the TV, because those things can go on 13, 14 hours sometimes, can't they? And I got it. I got what he does. I got his message. I got how he wants you to raise your energy, how good things happen when you can maintain a higher level of energy. And I think a lot of the work he does is created by the environment he creates within that space. 10,000 people standing on chairs has to rub off on you. It's how you live it when you leave the auditorium, really. But yeah, I think, well, again, going back to Insight Time, and that's given people like you and I and YouTube and Circles Live and others, it's given us the platform to continue to work, to enter into people's lives without the need to be. I've taught Reiki for about 15 years now, and I've gone back to teaching Reiki for the first time in the last month, very small classes. It was lovely to be back in the room again. but it made me realise that for everything, you don't need to be sitting in front of someone. You can have just as much impact on a screen. You know, if it's authentic and your message is pure and you really wish to be of service, then we can be the opposite side of the world and still have a positive effect on each other.
Yeah, exactly. You know, Zoom, Skype's good. You know, what else is Google Hangouts is great out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's important to move forward from the pandemic, because 100 years ago was the Spanish flu, and no one ever talked about that when I was growing up.
No.
And
no. This too shall pass.
There was
always does.
No vaccine for that as well. That just died out.
Yeah.
But that was a bad flu.
Yeah. Well, I think there's, you know, there's world wars, there's catastrophes, there's, you know, global this too shall pass. Impermanence is the key, really. I'm going to keep going back to taking care of yourself each moment, each day. Sometimes we forget, but keep reminding yourself that everything passes, everything comes, everything goes, all of its own accord. So ultimately, the only well-being decision you and I and the listeners have to make is what we decide to attach ourselves to as it naturally passes through, because it's going to go all of its own accord. Yeah,
look, great show with you, Ian, today. It's always great having you on the podcast as well. So where can people find you on your Insight Timer and say hi
so
to you?
Ian Tucker, which so my website, whether maybe you'll put a link below, I'm not sure, but it's iantucker.co.uk. That's a great landing place for everything. But Insight Timer, Circles Live, YouTube, Amazon for the book, Your Simple Path, and contact me via the website. I always come back quickly and personally if I can help personally in any way.